Hello my dear viewers, welcome back to Ruhoni Sewing. It is one of the beautiful days and I have only 30 minutes to spend on sewing before going to work. In this video we are going to work on customers' orders. The first order is of the pencil skirt and the peplum top. Here is a skirt of the peplum top. It has umbrella sleeves and a box pleated peplum. These are the basic pattern that I made for my client in 2019, and since there are no changes in measurements, I'm going to use these patterns. As usual, we are going to start by tracing our patterns, both our back and front pattern. I have only traced up to the waist because, like I said, we are sewing a peplum, so our pattern is only up to the waist. Okay, make sure to label all the necessary points on your pattern. So here, let me clarify further. We are going to have a V neckline for the front and these two sleeves, umbrella sleeves, the two pieces. And then, like I said, it's a peplum top. We are going to have these two pleats, okay, starting from the waist. So here I have already traced our pattern for the front, back, and as well as for the sleeve. So now let us start by modifying our patterns. We are starting with our back. We modify the shoulder as well as the neckline. It is always best to store your basic patterns, so when the patterns come back again for a different project, then you have your basic patterns, and then you can just trace them and modify the traced patterns. So for the bodies, I finished by drawing the heart-shaped neckline for our front piece. So after finishing with our bodies, we started with the sleeves, and remember the sleeves we have two pieces. Okay, this is a larger piece. So when making the pattern, you remember to make two pieces of the sleeves. So I had to stop the first project and start on the second project on the making of the shift dress. So this was just a simple shift dress. It is going to have a detail on the front, as you can see, but for the back it's just a simple shift dress. As usual, for this client I also had the patterns and I made a simple shirt dress for her. As you can see, this back pattern had the yoke, okay, and these were the patterns. So I started by making sure that the measurement for the sleeves fits well the pattern that I have. Remember, when we are making these patterns, we have a lot of adjustment to do. Then after that, I prepared my patterns. I had to iron them to get rid of the creases on my patterns. So I started by making some adjustment on my pattern, okay. Remember, now we are making a simple shift dress, so I had to make some adjustment on the neckline, both for the front as well as for the back. If you remember our drawing well, our dress has no zipper, so I had to make the neckline a little bit bigger so that she can put on easily. Okay, so now let us start sewing. It was difficult, but I had to do it every time that I had time. As you can see, we are going to start by cutting the fabric, but before cutting, here there is some adjustment. As you can see from the drawing, this is the shift dress, and as you know, the shift dress is loose, so starting from the arm side we need to make some adjustment. Draw a line from the arm side touching the hip line all the way to the hem. So here I was struggling not to destroy the original pattern. As you can see here, I've just joined a piece of paper for the pattern of the shift dress. After cutting the fabric, I proceed to cut the lining. So here all the pieces are ready. So by this time it was already 2 in the afternoon. I was a bit tired, so I decided to take a break for some minutes, few minutes. I did the laundry in the morning, so I decided to sort them out before having my lunch. And today's lunch, I decided to make cucumber salad. After that, I continued with the shift dress. Now I was cutting the detail for the center part of the front piece of our dress. So here I continued with the shift dress, adding on the centerpiece, but then by 5 I decided to go for the evening walk. So day 3, Sunday morning, I woke up and decided to start sewing early in the morning. Unfortunately, we have power rationing, and for today we are going to have power up until 9 in the morning. So I had to make some progress with this dress. So by Monday morning, this was the status of the dress. The sleeves were not yet inserted. So on Monday evening, I came back and finished sewing the dress. Here it is. So I had to deliver the dress by Tuesday because she wanted to put on Wednesday. It was International Women's Day, and this was a fabric that we chose for that day. So my customer was happy, I was happy, and now I had to continue with the first project. Remember, we ended where we wanted to make a 2 pattern for our sleeve. Just to remind you, here is a sketch for the sleeve. So here we were making modification to umbrella sleeves. Okay, so after finishing with all the modification, now we started by cutting the fabric. Okay, so here we've started with the skirt. Remember, here we are making a pencil skirt with a slit at the back. As a rule, you're not supposed to turn your fabric or your pattern when you are cutting, but it was very difficult for me to cut from that other side, so I had to turn it. And here I was making or putting the marks for the darts, okay, as well as for the zipper. After that, I took care of the belt. My skirt has a 2-inch belt, and so here we were modifying that piece of the belt before cutting the fabric. I have linked the video on how to make this type of the belt on your skirt in the description box below. So for further details, please watch that video. So after modifying our skirt belt, now cut the fabric. We are going to cut 4 pieces for the back and 2 pieces for the front. Okay, so I started by fixing the belt first. As you can see, I've added also the interface just to make the belt firm. Then after that, add the lining for the skirt as well as the zipper. So when you're installing your zipper, take your time. You don't need to rush, okay? So here is our skirt ready. I'll just have to finish with the hemming where I'm going to do it by hand. Now to the sleeves. This is the width of the sleeve. I find that it is not much, as you can see. You see here, okay? And I added the interface for the top piece of the sleeve, okay? And here is the heart-shaped neckline. She didn't like it as much. She wanted us to make a V neckline for the front as well as for the back, and also to reduce the width of the shoulder. So here I am modifying again the pattern for the V neckline for the front as well as for the back. And remember, for the sleeves, we wanted to have a more flared sleeve. So here I am redrawing the pattern again. If you are interested in this type of the blouse or a top, I'm going to make a video on how to draw the pattern and sew the top, so do not worry. So here are the sleeves for the second pattern. Compared to the first, these ones are more flattering. And so we are going to use our second pattern for the sleeves. So I finished by making this pattern for the peplum. That is our side seam, and this is our center front. And then after that, we were done with all the patterns, and then I started with the cutting of the fabric. So as a rule, when you are making a top and a skirt, first start to cut your skirt and then continue with your top. Put the marks for the darts. So these are the two pieces for our sleeves. Remember, if you are going to look at our design, we have two pieces for each sleeve. A second piece of advice, when you are sewing, make sure you iron your piece of material that you are working with each step. Okay, remember to do that. So here I was making sure to leave the allowance for the zipper at the back of our top. Then after that, I went straight to take care of our sleeves. So here I continue with the sleeves. This material was a bit confusing, so I had to really concentrate so that I can distinguish between the inside of the fabric and the outside. And then after that, I continued with the sewing of the sleeves. So now let us continue with our peplum part. We are going to use only this one piece of the pattern, and we will use it for the front as well as for the back. So after cutting the fabric, proceed to cut the lining also. But if you don't want to have your peplum to have the lining, it's not a must. Here are both the pieces of the lining and the fabric, and attach them together. So here I went ahead and attached the peplum part. Here is the slit, as you can see. But you're going to see more of it on the coming video, where I'm going to make a full lesson on how to sew this type of the top. After that, I'm going to install the zipper, and that's it. So now that we are done, let us iron for the last time before presenting it to our customer. So here is our top. I was not able to film it while on the table, so I've laid it down. You can see now the neckline, the V neckline, both for the front and back. Here is a sleeve. There are two pieces. Okay. My customer lives a bit far from me, and she's not going to come here to try it here at home, so I was not able to film her while putting this on. And lastly, let us look at the slit. This is our slit. Okay, there are two of them on either side.